Hey everyone, Draco Prime 220 here, and I'd actually been thinking of this concept for a while. It was actually due to a very good piece of artwork, and also due to the current DC vs. Monsterverse comic. And this concept is King Kong versus King Ghidorah. And this is a concept idea, nothing official. It is just, I think, the one piece of artwork that I am using for this video almost looks legit. I don't know who made this artwork. If anyone knows, please let me know in the comments section below. And before we go any further into this concept video, did I say concept or did I say concept? Oh my god, I hope I said concept video. I'm sorry. Well, it would make sense. We are talking about the eighth wonder of the world. But before we get any further into this video, my goal is to reach over 100 subscribers before this year is over. And if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. Please help make my goal a reality. I would really appreciate it. Now, my story would be a sequel to the unmade continuation King Kong vs. Godzilla. And in case you want to know what that was all about, there is an English translation of the story on Toho Kingdom. And the link of this will be in the description box below, so you could find out for yourselves. In case you don't want to be spoiled of how that unmade film would have ended, please get off the video now, and then when you're done reading it, come back so you have some context of what happened. So, our story begins actually in Greece, the ancient ruins of Greece. And we have people looking at, it's almost like a tour site where people can look at the ruins of ancient Greece, and they find on these walls like depictions of a giant fighting a hydra, or like Jason going against the seven-headed hydra for the golden fleece. That's kind of foreshadowing what is going to happen later on in this movie. Meanwhile, the events of continuation King Kong vs. Godzilla has happened, and here's what I think happened, because according to the script, Kong and Godzilla both vanish and they're never seen, so whoever the winner is was left ambiguous. So my guess is Kong and Godzilla fell through the volcanic fissure during the volcanic eruption and both separated during their fight, basically in a way leaving it as a tie. So Kong goes his way and he finds an island. And this is going to be the 62 Kong, but just more of a better looking suit. You know, just a better looking suit, not looking too creepy or anything. Make him look like looks like he's friendly, but he's not. But make him look like he can get vicious, like somewhere in between. Not too cute, not too scary, just like in the middle. And like how Kong would be is that with Haru Nakajima, rest in peace. Is that like when he played Ghidorah, the Green Gargantua, you could actually see his real eyes, not like a mask with plastic eyes or anything. Kong makes home on this island, and it's not Faro Island or Mondo Island. I would just call it Skull Island. Just like call it Skull Island. And there is remnants of a civilization. There is a small village that has like parts of a wall with a statue carved skull in it to make it look like, you know, like it's like ruins of a wall. But Kong proves that he's more of a protector than a malicious monster. This does lead into the opening credits. You hear Kong's roar, then you hear Ghidorah's roar, so you definitely know who is coming to challenge him. A year goes by. Kong has been... There's an outpost made by the military with an anthropologist and his wife and their 12-year-old daughter. I would picture the anthropologist played by the late Akira Takarada and the very beautiful actress Kumi Mizuno. Like, I'll be honest, in Godzilla Final Wars, she still looked very gorgeous, even in that movie. Yeah, she was older at that time, but she was absolutely beautiful. Like, still, like, she was one of those actresses that could play, like, a femme fatale, evil lady character, or play a character that sympathizes with the creatures. They would play a married couple, they would have a 12-year-old daughter, and of course I am taking that idea, I'm actually inspired by that idea from Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong, where it wasn't, you know, your typical blonde girl like Ann Darrow, nothing against Fay Wray, you know, but having like a child, I kind of like that concept. I have nothing against the original Beauty and the Beast concept, but having a child is more understanding about this creature. I think it makes it a slightly more powerful connection. But I will say the bond between Ann Darrow and Kong in 05 still gets me every time. I like the 05 relationship between Kong and Ann Darrow more than 33 because all Ann Darrow is doing in that one is screaming all the time. I get it. It was the 1930s. It's supposed to be kind of like a monster movie, an escapist adventure film. I get it. But I do like that they flushed out Kong and Ann's relationship and bond in the 05 film. Now, a year has gone by. Kong is made home there, but he's not alone. Here we do have some of Toho's kaiju. We have Baragon, Varan, Gorosaurus, and Anguirus. These four monsters inhabit the island. Gorosaurus, Baragon, Varan, Anguirus. Oh, okay, and actually I'm going to add Rodan. Okay? Rodan, I think, also should be in this one because Kong did encounter a Pteranodon in the original, so when we first see Kong, he is sparring with Gorosaurus. It's not like a villain role for Gorosaurus. It's just more like he's a rival. It's like a rivalry. It's like almost like a sparring match where Kong shows off his strength and is showing Gorosaurus who is in charge of the island. Rodan acts as the vigilant one, like he's flying around minding his own business, but at the same time keeping his eyes open. Varan, Baragon, and Anguirus are like the inhabitants of the island, where they're just minding their own business. They don't really mind the humans. If the humans don't bother them, they won't bother them back. But they actually want to just observe Kong in his natural habitat, unlike bringing him to the city where he would either die or a lot of people would die, so they want to avoid that. And that's actually what I liked about Escapes, is where they don't want to bring him to New York, they want to just observe him in his natural habitat. There would be a very sweet scene where the daughter to the anthropologist and his wife actually has like a nice batch of flowers for Kong. Just this, you know, a very sweet moment where Kong, after being Gorosaurus retreats. Kong shows up and he's like looking down and he does this, and she puts the flowers in his giant hand, and he does this and smells them, and he's showing like thank you, like he's making those gentle grunts that like Godzilla would do, that orbaroom noise, something like that. I'm sorry if that sounded weird, but that's the best way how I can interpret it, the noise that Godzilla would make. And even Kong in King Kong Escapes made the same noise. So I would have where Kong actually picks up their daughter, and actually he climbs to the top of his mountain where his cave's on like this plateau-esque area, and he's just sitting there looking, and there is a small military base on the island in case the monsters try to either get aggressive or try to leave the island. The anthropologist and his wife do trust Kong immensely. He has shown no signs of aggression, but they've never actually seen him pick up someone. And they do see a couple military helicopters heading to Kong's mountainous region on the island. Kong actually is not acting out of maliciousness. He's acting out of being protective. And Akira Takarada's character and Kumi Mizuno's character actually decide to they have their own little aircraft, similar to the little car that they had in Escapes, but this one actually can fly. Like it's like that mixed with a helicopter to where they could fly, and they go up there to observe Kong, and they're like, don't shoot at him, because they see that he placed their daughter near the inside of the cave to protect her, and he's picking up boulders and he throws them like he's trying to scare them. He's not going out of his way to kill them. He's like, get out of here. This is your only one warning you're getting, and they actually communicate with the military helicopters and tell them to stand down, and they actually do. They say they'll give them 5 minutes, and if Kong does not let them go, or if he shows any signs of aggression, they will attack. They land gently, and Kong just slowly puts his arms down and looks down at them, and he's just cautious. He's like, he's growling, and then they come out, and then their daughter says, "Mom, Dad," and she says that Kong took him, up the side of the mountain for giving him flowers, and Kong actually is showing off very. And now, okay, really quick, I don't want to make it sound like it's creepy or weird. Kong's bond with this little girl is more like a big burly brother protecting the little sister. That's what his relationship with this little girl is like. He's like a big burly brother. He's also a king, and he's a protector of the island. So anything on his territory, he is going to protect. He doesn't view them as a threat. They've been very respectful, giving him his space, and they don't pose any threat to him. And he is almost every interpretation of Kong, he has this ferocity, but he is this, to a degree, a very gentle giant, and he can be quite peaceful. So that's what I would want the bond to be, is that it's like a big burly brother watching over his little sister, keeping her safe, making sure she doesn't get into trouble. Well, this does lead to them taking their daughter back down to their base where they live, and the villagers are starting to chant, and they only do this. It's not because they do view Kong as a protector, but they sense something bad's coming, and they keep pointing to the sky like something is coming. And later that night, there are shooting stars, and one of them is a big one, crashing into the island. And not shortly after that, a massive storm occurs. And also, similar with Ghidorah 3-Headed Monster, when Ghidorah was in his meteorite... Excuse me. My apologies. When he was in the meteorite, he was able to use magnetism. Anything metal or with any kind of metal ore in them could be attached to the meteorite. So in this case, there are like planes, tanks, all sorts of things. There's a storm starting to brew and it's starting to rain. The family are eating breakfast, and then they notice like their forks, their spoons are starting to move, like lift up, and they're kind of weirded out. And then there's like reports that tanks are being pulled through the jungle, causing some to explode and actually attaching to this meteorite. So they actually go and inspect this anomaly. And Professor Mura, I believe his name is, he was in Mothra vs. Godzilla and Ghidorah 3-Headed Monster. He would actually be the same guy, Hiroshi Kazumi, I believe his name is, because he was in the original Mothra as Mr. Chojo. So Hiroshi Kazumi's character from Ghidorah 3-Headed Monster and Mothra vs. Godzilla would show up once again, but keep in mind this is its own thing, so it's not really connected. I'm just using certain characters that could have some form of connection, like, so it's more recognizable. That he would go and inspect the meteorite, and that it's causing a disturbance on the island. And it's also causing the weather to go out of control. A massive fog and thunderstorm. First, a thunderstorm happens. Kong is just looking up, and he's agitated. All the creatures on the island are agitated because they're like, they sense something is wrong. Most animals do. Most animals will sense something before any other human does. This leads to a massive fog bank being created around the island, kind of concealing anyone. There would be a moment where a supply ship actually is trying to make through the island, and a agitated Rodan decides to attack because this meteorite is causing the creatures that are on the island to go act erratically. So Rodan is like dive bombing this supply ship, and then Kong actually has to get involved, where he goes into the nearby bay of the island and confronts Rodan, leading to a very interesting battle. Like, first starts from the water, then goes to land, and then Kong, overpowering the winged reptile, makes the creature submit. And Kong is also very agitated, and they are concerned. The military is also concerned because of the escalated aggression that the kaiju are showing, especially Kong. Well, this all comes to a head when the meteorite completely decides to open up and release King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah makes no qualms about what he's doing. He gets quick to business, ravaging the island, destroys the military base on the military facility base on the island. Yeah, some of the tanks and jets try to fire at him to keep him at bay, but to no avail. The natives refuse to leave the island. This was their home. They've lived here for years, and they have faith in Kong. While the scientist and his wife and daughter are preparing to leave the island, Kong is fending off the three-headed monster. Kong and Ghidorah first meet, and it is a battle of epic proportions. Kong and King Ghidorah, they trade blows. It would go from the ground because Kong would realize this guy can fly. So he's gonna have he's got to get up higher to get more, if he can get any form of advantage. So as Kong is climbing up the side of his mountain to his cave area, on his plateauish area that his cave is on, Ghidorah is shooting out his gravity beams, causing boulders to fall, causing debris to crash on Kong. Kong is not deterred by it and continues his climb. Kong then gets on top, and King Ghidorah finally decides to land in front of Kong and challenge him to a one-on-one. And here's the thing. Like I said, this would be the 62 Kong, because the 67 version of Kong is a lot smaller than this one, and 67 Kong does not have the electrical powers that the 62 one has. I'm actually, on a side note, I'm really hoping in Supernova, I really hope Kong gets his electrical powers at some point. I know it's been teased with the Beast Glove, but I really want to see him have those powers. Give him a little edge. This leads to a fight where King Ghidorah is using his gravity beams, and a couple of them do hit Kong, but to King Ghidorah's surprise, Kong is not really phased. It's almost like he's charging up, and it's making him stronger, but between what King Ghidorah is doing, King Ghidorah decides to be like, okay, my beams are not working at him directly, maybe I can make this work a different way. He actually tries to shoot at Kong's feet. Kong jumps around using his agility to advantage, but then King Ghidorah, similar to how he picks up Anguirus in Destroy All Monsters and drops him, he picks up Kong like he weighs nothing, lifts him up high, and then Kong's like trying to swing upwards to punch King Ghidorah in the stomach to make him let him go, and in the process, one of Ghidorah's heads decides to bite his arm, and then drops Kong, but Kong grabs onto the ledge near his cave and is holding on. Ghidorah does another flyby, but right before he can attack the dangling Kong, Rodan shows up to have a brief but brutal little air battle with Ghidorah, trying to distract him. And To no avail, Ghidorah gets taken out and crashes into the nearby jungle down below. Then King Ghidorah decides to blast the side of the mountainside that Kong is hanging on, causing Kong to fall and crash to the jungle below, causing all the rubble from the side of the mountain to cause a landslide to bury Kong. While that happens, King Ghidorah ravages what's left of the village. Not many of the villagers survive. And then King Ghidorah decides to leave the area of Skull Island and actually head for Tokyo. Kong is temporarily out of commission. He's unconscious. And so Rodan and Gorosaurus decide to stay behind while Anguirus, Varan, and Baragon decide to go forth and confront King Ghidorah and stall him while they go and try and revive Kong. Now, yeah, and remember, this is in the Showa era. Anguirus, Varan, and Baragon go their way separate, how they get there. Anguirus swims, Baragon travels underground, and Varan takes to the sky. And actually, I always liked that concept with GMK, where it wasn't King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Baragon, it was Anguirus, Varan, and Baragon. I kind of think I would have wanted that more. It just kind of sucks that it didn't happen. Maybe in this Godzilla World franchise that Toho is making, maybe it will happen. Crossing fingers, hopefully. Maybe they'll give some monsters that need so much needed attention. Not just the big fan favorites. I'm nothing against the fan favorites. They're my favorites, you know. But anyway, the military says, how do we keep these we just let those 3 monsters get away? And the commanding officer says, do you think in our state, do you really think we could stop them even if we tried? And then he would add on, I think I know what they're doing. And of course, Kong is out, and they're thinking, how can we wake him up? So they actually have Tokyo, the military, call in a favor to bring in the Maser tank cannons, 3 of them, and actually use them to wake up Kong. And in the process, it will also give him a power boost. Meanwhile, King Ghidorah is laying waste to Tokyo, leading to Anguirus, Baragon, and Varan to challenge and also stall the 3-headed monster before he causes any more destruction, leading to a very interesting battle, almost like 3 underdogs going up against a very highly powered adversary. Anguirus and Baragon give it all they got. Baragon uses his leaping abilities, his digging, his heat ray, while Varan uses his flying skills, his sharp spikes, claws, and teeth to do damage, along with Anguirus being very highly determined and his durability to his advantage. During this whole fight, each kaiju loses badly. Varan crashes on top of a partially destroyed building, and similar to how Invasion of Astro Monster, Ghidorah like how there's a scene where he lands on a building and his legs go through it due to his weight. So, similar here, but instead of just landing his feet on the roof and going through the roof, he actually is just using his weight to crush Varan through the remainder of the building. While Baragon is badly defeated, literally by being bombarded with electrical beams, and Anguirus would get the worst, because he actually, he gets knocked down to the ground. He gets picked up and dropped. But then King Ghidorah gets a little sadistic. He actually starts biting Anguirus' neck, almost like tormenting him. And meanwhile on the island, Kong is starting to move. Kong decides, when he wakes up, he's in a fit of rage. And Kong actually destroys the Maser tanks upon waking up, not realizing they were trying to help him. The scientist and his family calm Kong down, and Kong looks around and he looks distraught. And in a way, he almost looks defeated. But then he leaves the island immediately to go after the one who caused the destruction of his home. And therefore and now people are going to ask, why would Kong leave his island? Because Ghidorah is a threat. Ghidorah is not only a threat to Tokyo, but what's to stop King Ghidorah from coming back and finishing the job? See what I mean? So, King Ghidorah is now going through Tokyo unchallenged. Kong shows up, and they fight their first round. Their second round is near the Bay Area, where there is a baseball stadium. This leads to a very brutal fight between Kong and Ghidorah once again, leading to Ghidorah using his electric beams, which is charging Kong up even more. And this is where things get kind of interesting. King Ghidorah keeps noticing that Kong is not hurt by his electrical rays. So Ghidorah will have to rely on physical attacks. Well, he can bite, he can use maybe his tails if he's flying, or use the sky to his advantage. Now, Kong here decides to actually grab a piece of the electrical tower that's nearby and use it as a form of a club. And this leads to Kong and Ghidorah fighting, tussling through the stadium. He's bashing Ghidorah with his new club, and every time Ghidorah uses his gravity beams, it electrifies the club, while making it a deadly weapon, but also at the same time giving Kong a continuous power boost. Well, I would really want Kong to use its intelligence. One, it's a good weapon, but since he gets power from electric voltage, it's like a continuous power boost to keep him going. Well, it kind of turns into King Ghidorah's favor once again, once the military arrive. Once again, it's the folly of humans that kind of ruin Kong's victory much sooner. They start bombarding King Ghidorah and King Kong with jets and missiles, which leads King Ghidorah to knock Kong down with all three of his heads, blasting a building, pinning Kong down. King Ghidorah then resumes his rampage. But then Kong, once again, he's got all this collective energy buildup, and we see, him surging with electricity all over his body. And then Kong gets up, roars violently, charges King Ghidorah and catching him by surprise, and literally starts giving him these electric punches. And similar to how when you saw Kong grab Godzilla, you'd see the electrical bolts coming from his fingertips. Well, every time he would punch King Ghidorah, you see these electrical shockwaves emitting from his punches. Also, Kong would use that move, not the one he does in the movie, but there's that artwork where Kong is flinging Godzilla over his head by his tail. He would do that to King Ghidorah and smash him into a bunch of buildings. Then King Ghidorah would actually use his two other heads to constrict Kong's arms to restrain him while trying to bite him. Kong's trying to maneuver, and we would have where Kong is still has his legs maneuverable to move around and starts kneeing Ghidorah in the stomach. Ghidorah has no choice but to let go, but then once again the military shows up for another flyby, but then they are told not to shoot Kong. Kong's trying to help, so they aim for the one that is the actual problem. Meanwhile, the scientist and his family are heading to Tokyo, and King Ghidorah notices them, and they get ready to shoot their gravity beams at the very craft that the family is in. But they don't even get the chance to, because King Ghidorah feels something very wrong. He stops, and King Ghidorah ends up with the club, the pointed part of the club that Kong has in his chest. And here's the thing, similar to how when Godzilla went in GMK, when that drill missile in his shoulder made a hole there, every time he used his atomic breath, it would hurt him from the inside out, because it would hurt, it would blast out from the hole in his shoulder and actually cause internal damage. And it got to the point where Godzilla blew himself up. But in the process, Kong is wrestling with King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah is still attempting to use his gravity beams, and it'd be also too much electrical power is not good. For an electrical machine, similar to that of an electrical machine, too much power will fry the machine. So not too much power is not good. So King Ghidorah is like internally, every time he tries to use his gravity beams, he's shocking himself. And this leads to Kong giving one good electrical punch to the impaled club, and it goes right through King Ghidorah, shocking him all over. And then King Ghidorah takes a couple steps forward and then collapses. And then Kong kind of turns his head and he does similar to what he does to the T-Rex. He kind of looks at it and he grabs the necks, flopping them, seeing if they're still alive, and then he plays with the middle head's jaw. And then he puts his foot on the back of King Ghidorah, pounding his chest, and then he heads back to the island. The military does show up because of all the destruction that has happened. Baragon and Anguirus and Varan wake up, and they both make a very quick retreat. Anguirus accompanies Kong. Kong is tired at this point. Baragon goes underground. Varan takes to the skies. Anguirus accompanies Kong back to sea, but the military is getting ready to set fire again. But then they are told to stand down. Let them go. They won't be coming back. So they do. Kong and Anguirus head back to the island, and the family makes the tough decision of leaving. What is left of the tribe that is on the island will have to, make peace with what has happened. But they've never lost their faith in Kong. They would say that they knew he would triumph. They knew he would win. But, they make the choice of leaving. Let Kong live peacefully. Let all the creatures on the island live peacefully. Kong actually knows they're getting ready to leave, and there is this sweet moment where Kong puts his hand down, and the little girl gets in his hand. She's tearing up, and Kong kind of does this, looking down at her, and gives that look like it's gonna be all right. I'll be fine. We may see each other again. And he puts her down, and then he just sits there as the ship leaves. Then he actually climbs to the top of his mountain, and we get one last look at Rodan, Gorosaurus, Baragon, Varan, and Anguirus. And as the movie ends, Kong watches the ship leave and pounds his chest and roars. End credits. Now, for a little side thing, there would be a couple more fights between Gorosaurus to show their rivalry. It's not like they hate each other. It's more they're both tough characters, and they're just trying to out-tough one or the other, and to show who's top dog of the island. Yeah, I actually wanted to come up with this concept idea because, one, the DC comics, where the DC comes in contact with the Monsterverse, Kong actually, for the first time ever, has fought Rodan and King Ghidorah. And also, I think it would have made an interesting film if made. Second of all, I'm really hoping that for Monarch Season 3, hopefully when it's greenlit, we haven't gotten nothing yet, I'm really hoping it is Rodan focused, because you just can't have a cameo like that and not work upon that. Similar with Season 1, it ended with Kong, and Kong had a bigger role in that second season. He played a bigger part, bigger so than Godzilla. So I do think Rodan will be the focus of Season 3. So here's my hopes that we actually get to see Kong once again go toe-to-toe with Rodan and even Godzilla, because we actually never got a proper Godzilla versus Rodan movie from Toho, and I'm actually surprised. But my other hope is for the Monsterverse at some point, I'm actually hoping Kong fights King Ghidorah. Now, you're going to say King Ghidorah is dead. According to the novelization, King Ghidorah's subconscious possessed Ren Serizawa, because according to the book, Madison went back to the wreckage, never found Ren Serizawa's body. And it is said that he possessed him. So, could this work into the Monsterverse films where King Ghidorah uses a possessed Ren Serizawa to build himself a new body? clone himself a new body of King Ghidorah, and then maybe mix it up with remaining Apex weaponry and technology to make Mecha King Ghidorah, and have Kong fight him like that. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, this was just an idea that I think would have made it, one, a good movie, and two, would have been quite interesting to see on screen. But hopefully in the Monsterverse, hopefully we'll see that happen. But once again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you like it. And once again, the script for the continuation, King Kong vs. Godzilla on Toho Kingdom, will be in the description box below. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, I am Draco Prime, signing off. See you, everyone.